Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the Decatur the Decatur Library. I don't know where I got that. With another jewelry tutorial. This one is going to be a lot of fun. It's something that I get a lot of requests for, doing minimalist type jewelry that's good for both men and women. And so I wanted to do something that goes along with kind of a hardware theme. So I decided to use hex nuts, and this was the result. This really, really neat bracelet. It's all about hex nuts and jump rings. That's it. Hex nuts, jump rings, and that's all you need for your supplies, and some 20 gauge wire, because we are also going to be making a clasp, a hook clasp. So those are the things that you need. It's a very, very simple, somewhat repetitive process, but once you get it, you've got it. And we're going to make this particular bracelet, but the one that I'm going to do today, I'm trying to take it off my wrist. The one that I'm going to do today is going to be made with a different type of hex nut. Hex nuts come in all different sizes, and I'm not a hardware person, so I didn't know that. I do work with some guys that supply the government with supplies for firefighters, who are the ones that fight the fires that always rage every year out on the West Coast and different parts of the country, and they do the controlled burns and things like that. I'd never heard of that before, but so I was trying to kind of pick their brains on what they thought would be acceptable for a guy, or what they thought guys would like to wear. And of course I got, oh, I don't wear jewelry, I don't wear jewelry, so anyway, I came up with some ideas on how to use hardware to come up with it. This isn't a new idea. This has been done before many, many times, but I just wanted to do something that was pretty simple, and this is what I came up with. I like it. It goes with any and everything. Again, I was going back to the fact that hex nuts come in different sizes, and the ones that I'm going to use today are much larger. So this is the size of the ones that I'm going to use today compared to the ones that I used for this particular bracelet. It's thinner, much thinner than these that I used before, and they're about the size of a washer. Well, washers come in different sizes too. Sorry, hardware people, I'm sorry. I'm completely ignorant of this information. But this is about the size of a thin washer. It's very thin, got a big open hole there that we can use to thread our jump rings through, and it's going to give it a completely different look. So I can't wait to see it. But I thought this would be great because you could also use this particular kind to make a necklace. It's not as heavy because it's not as thick, even though it's bigger in actual size. It's not as thick and heavy as the smaller ones. So that's what I'm going to do today. I can't wait to see what this looks like when we're all finished. So and I'm also going to show you how to make your own jump rings and split rings, because one of the things that we're going to be using today are these small closed or soldered jump rings. I don't know if you can see that. Get a hander of those. These are soldered jump rings, and they are not necessarily easy to come by in your local store. You may be able to find them in Joann's, Michael's, AC Moore, that type of thing, but you can definitely find them on Etsy and Amazon. They will be listed either under soldered jump rings or closed jump rings, and that's what we're going to be using today as part of our link. The other is going to be larger regular jump rings that have the little split, and they need to be a big enough size to fit over your hex nut, because the hex nuts are pretty large in size, and it depends on the kind that you use. So I'm going to show you how to make your own jump rings in different sizes. I'm also going to show you how to make a split ring, because if you can't find the soldered jump rings, you can use a split ring, which is like a teeny tiny version of the rings that you use to keep your keys on, and then that way you don't have to worry about anything coming open and coming apart. So we're going to do that right now. We're also going to make our own clasps. So we're going to be doing a lot of wire work in addition to this very simple bracelet that we'll be putting together. So let's get started with that. Let me go ahead and get this camera switched down to the one where you can see my hands. And here we are. Yay. So this is the one that I was showing you on my arm. It's really, really cute. I like it. The guys approved it. So there we go. So now let's go ahead, and the first thing I want to show you is how to make your own jump rings. So what I'm going to do is use 3 different sizes of just rods. These are just rods. This is a metal one, a metal rod, and a plastic one. I just got this from the dollar store. It had a little flag on it. I cut the flag off so I could use the rod, and then an ink pen. So I can show you how to make 3 different sizes. Now you can also make jump rings with your round nose pliers, but it depends on the size that you need. This is only going to make a certain size, and it's very small. It will make the size of the ones that I have that are closed. As you can see, that fits right on there. So we would be able to make that size, but if you're making anything a whole lot bigger, you may not be able to do it. So not with your pliers. So I've got these 3 different sized rods that we're going to use, or 2 rods and a pencil that I'm going to use. I'm using 20 gauge wire just to show you how to do it. I would suggest that you use something a little stronger, 18 gauge, 16 gauge. Remember, the bigger the gauge, the stronger the wire. Wait, I've got that wrong. The bigger the gauge, the weaker the wire. So 20 gauge wire is weaker than 18 gauge wire. It's not as strong. 16 gauge wire is stronger than 18 gauge wire. I don't know why they did that, but that's it's easier to remember now than it was when I first started working with wire. So anyway, let's start with our smallest dowel here, or rod here. And I'm going to take a length of wire. I'm going to leave it on my spool. I'm going to make sure that I have about an inch tail of wire, so I have something to hold on to. And I'm just going to start wrapping that wire around this bar. Just wrap it, and I want to try to keep the loops close together. Put my glasses on so I can see, and just wrap it nice and tight. I'm just going to give it a few wraps. I'm going to slide it off of there, and I'm going to cut it right here where it starts. You can see where that's sticking out there. I'm just going to cut it off right there to get rid of that tail. And then I'm going to cut it at the end. And now I'm going to cut all of the rings. And I would suggest that you use a flush cutter for that, because you can slide it in the rings nice and neat and cut them all. Now this little end, you don't want that facing you, because it could fly off and hit you in the chest or in the eye, which would be awful. So what you want to do is take that little end and turn it down into something. I'm going to just turn it down into this little container, so that when I cut this, that little end will just drop off in there, and I don't have to worry about it. There it is. So now I have 3 nice little jump rings. Ta-da! There we go. 3 nice little jump rings that I can work with. So now I'm going to go on to the next size. Same thing, same premise. Keep a little tail on there that I can use to anchor it. And I'm just going to wrap. Give it a few wraps. Keep them close together. And let's just push those all together nice and neat and even. Pull that off of there. Slide my flesh cutters inside. Cut them off of the spool. And I have 3 jump rings. Now the one end that had the end sticking out, I'll have to cut that off. There we go. Cut it off so that the ends are all nicely meeting together. Oh, yeah, all I have to do is smash it down. There. So I have 3 more jump rings in another size. So now I'm going to take this ink pen and I'm going to make a really big set of jump rings here. So I'm going to, again, give myself a little bit of a tail to hold on to and wrap it nice and tight. Here, take it off. Squish those together. Let's get rid of that little end. Slide those down in my flesh cutters down in there. Cut those rings, and there we go. Three lovely, large, very large, looks like about 18mm jump rings. Squish the ends together, and there we go. Neat, great. So I have all these lovely jump rings that I just made myself in 3 different sizes. Great. So now the next thing I'm going to show you is how to make a split ring. Because again, this ring that's in the center, I wanted something that was closed. You can get a good look at that. I wanted something that didn't have an opening so that it's a little bit more secure. So I have 2 large jump rings on the side, on each side of a small jump ring that's in the center. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make a split ring in place of that little small jump ring. So it depends on the size of the split ring that you want or jump ring that you want, but I'm going to slide this one down on my pliers and see about where it falls, which is about 3/4 of the way down my pliers, and that's where I'm going to put my wire. And now I'm just going to make my little split ring. So I'm going to slide my wire in between the pliers and grab the end of that. Make sure nothing's sticking out the back there. So it's going to be a nice, clean finish at the end. And now I'm going to start wrapping. I want the end of my wire to always be nearest to the end of the pliers, the tip of the pliers. And then I want to make sure that I hold the part that I'm wrapping in the same spot so that the loops all end up the same size. So I think that's good. So what I'm going to do, cut off this end here. Let's get rid of that. Cut it away from the spool. And I have a split ring with 3 different rings. Doesn't necessarily have to be 3 rings. You can make it 2 rings, and the way to do that is just cut away the ring that you don't want. So, oops, come back here, come back. Oh, it's on the floor. Oh, well, that gives me the opportunity to show you how to do it again. So again, I'm going to grab my wire at the tip, about 3/4 of the way down my pliers, and rotate. Again, the tip of the wire should be closest to the tip of your pliers. I just want 2 wraps, really. I just want it to be a nice split. And if you just want to do 1, you don't really need to do a bunch of them and then waste your wire. You can just do 2 rotations, cut it off. Push down the ends so that they conform with the shape of your loop. You don't want them sticking up. And I think I have a split ring. Get those side by side here. And the more I work with it, the tougher the rings are going to become, which is a good thing, because we don't want soft rings. We want them nice and hard so that they'll hold their shape. And so there is my split ring. There. So now I don't have to worry about that coming off of my piece of jewelry. There. Okay, so that's how we make jump rings and split rings. Now it's time to make our bracelet. Yay, the fun part. So what you need for this, again, is your jump rings, your closed and open jump rings, your hex nuts, of course, main ingredient. You need a pair of pliers, flat nose, round nose, and some cutters. You can use flush cutters or regular cutters. Either one works. And the first thing that we're going to do is attach our jump rings and our hex nuts. And again, I need 2 large jump rings on either side of my small jump ring. And then I need a hex nut on either side of the large jump ring. So it's hex nut, large jump ring, small jump ring, 2 large jump rings, hex nut. That's the order that we're going. So the first thing I want to do is open up. Let's start here. We're going to go this direction, which is right to left in on the camera, I think. Okay, so I'm going to open up one of the large jump rings. And the best way to open up a jump ring is not to stick your pliers inside and pull the ring apart. You don't want to do that. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to show you what not to do. This is a no. You don't want to pull it apart like that, because I've just now ruined my ring. It's going to be impossible to get back into ring shape because I just ruined it. So now I'm going to have a misshapen ring to work with. Instead, you want to grab the side. I'm using this big one because it's really easy to see. You want to find your opening, which is here. You want to grab the side of it with one of your pliers, and either take your thumb and push down until it's open, like so. Now you can either do it that way or get another one of these that I just made. Or you can take a pair of pliers again, put it on one side of the opening, another pair of pliers and put it in on the other side of the opening. I'm going to go this way and twist. It's just like flipping a top open. And now it's open. And then when I have to close it back, it's really easy. I can either take the two pliers and twist it back the other direction, like that, or I can take one pair of pliers and my finger or thumb, and I can push it closed. Easy as can be. Much easier than trying to wrangle a mangled loop because I opened it the wrong way. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with one of the large jump rings. I'm going to find my opening, open the jump ring, pop on my soldered jump ring, my closed jump ring, my little one, and then slide on my hex nut. Make sure you open it big enough so that a hex nut will fit. Okay, so I have my hex nut on and my little loop on, and I'm going to close it. So there's one. Now I'm going to put my other large jump ring on. So my large jump ring, find the opening, here it is, grasp it with my pliers, push it open with my thumb, make sure it's a nice big opening so it'll slide over my hex nut. Slide it on my small jump ring and over my hex nut. Make sure that you do not catch your other jump ring in with this one. The only thing that you should be looping is your small jump ring and your hex nut. And once you've got that, then you close it. I have to jiggle it a little bit to make sure it's nicely closed. That's one of the reasons why you need to, you want to make sure that your jump ring is a big enough size to support your hex nut, because you don't want it so tight that there's no movement. You want it to be able to wiggle around because you don't want any stress. So there's one length. That's one side, my connection. Now I'm going to go to the other side. So I'm going to grab one of my large jump rings, open it, attach it to the small jump ring, only the small jump ring. You don't want to catch up anything else in there, just the small jump ring. Add another hex nut. And close. Now I'm going to add the other jump ring. Open. Small jump ring. Hex nut. And close. Oops. Did I get it? Did I do it? Is it correct? Something looks off. Ah, what did I do? I missed my jump ring, I think. Let me see what I did here. I got the jump ring and the hex nut and the jump ring and the hex nut. Something's not quite right. I don't know what it is. Okay, that's good right there. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Mistakes happen. I'm going to take this loose on this side. I think this is the side. And see. That's correct. Let's put that back in here. Grab my small jump ring. I think I might have accidentally looped it into the big jump ring as well. I shouldn't have done that. So I've got my small jump ring. Let's grab my hex nut. Close it up. And there we go. Looks like mini handcuffs. Make sure all my rings are nicely closed. And let's do one more set. So again, I'm going to need 2 more jump rings on each side. And a closed small jump ring. All right. So let's grab my jump ring, open it, put my small jump ring on, attach it to one side of my hex nut, close it up. Second jump ring. Open. Slide it on the little jump ring and back over my hex nut. Let's make sure it's not caught on the other jump ring, which is what happened last time. So the other jump ring's over here. This jump ring's over there. Close it up. There we go. And let's go ahead and do the other side just for visual purposes. Open up that jump ring. Slide it on my soldered jump ring. And yeah, let's go ahead and put on another one of these guys and close it up. Another jump ring. Open. Slide it on my little jump ring. Oops, I caught the big jump ring. Don't want the big jump ring. You stay put. If you can do this with your fingers, more power to you, but it's easier for me to use the the pliers. Slide it over my hex nut. And close it. Now you want to go back and check all your loops just to make sure everything's nicely closed at some point. You can do it as you go, or you can do it later on just to check and make sure everything looks like it's hunky-dory. But this is what we have so far. And I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of it up real quick, and I'm going to come back and show you how to finish your for your clasp. So it will just take a second for me to get this done, and when I come back for you, it will just feel like the briefest of moments. So here we are. We are all finished with the majority of the body of our bracelet. Now all we need to do is make our hook. Here we are. It's really neat. I like this one. I like this a lot. Wasn't sure how it was going to look compared to this one, but I like them both. And this is really great because, again, I think you could stretch that out and add more links and make it into a necklace, and it would just lay beautifully and it wouldn't be too heavy. So the last thing that we're going to do is make our clasp. So we're going to be using 20 gauge wire because this is a double clasp. Well, it's got a double wire for the hook. So it's going to be nice and strong and sturdy. So what we need is our ruler. Let's get that out. And we're going to cut off about 5 inches of wire. And first thing we're going to do is make a loop. So give yourself about an inch tail of wire, about an inch. Slide your wire down about 3/4 of the way down my pliers, because I just want enough of a loop so that it'll fit the loop that I already have with the closed jump ring, which is going to hold my clasp. So I just want a nice little tail on here. I'm going to bring that tail around over my pliers until I have a nice loop, like so. And now I'm going to wrap, grab this on the side here, and wrap that tail around the long tail of my wire to secure my loop. And that's pretty short, so I am going to use my other pliers to guide that around. And you want to just guide it. You don't want to pull on it, because if you pull it, you're going to pull your long tail out of shape. Okay, so I've got that wrapped around a couple of times. So that's enough. Just securing my loop. There we go. And now I'm going to just neaten that up a little bit. And cut that tail off. That little nub that's on the end there, I don't want that sticking up. I'm going to cut that off. Actually, it's short enough so that I can just push it down. I don't think I really have anything to cut. Let me just push it down there so that it's laying against the wire and it won't catch on my clothes or my skin. So now I want to center my loop. I don't want it leaning over to the side, so I'm going to take my pliers and just straighten it up. So there we go. Now, this is one way to do it. I'm going to show you another way because I want to connect that to this without having to open up. I think I still have enough here. Yeah, without having to open up my loop. So I want to connect it, which I should have done in the first place, and I didn't. So my bad, my mistake. So what I'm going to do is make another loop. This gives me another chance to show you how to do it. Straighten that out. You can use one of those straighteners, or you can just straighten it with a piece of cloth. Okay, so again, 1 inch tail, about a quarter of the way down my pliers. Wrap that short end around the pliers. Take the pliers out, grab the side of my loop, wrap that short tail around the long tail. 2 times is enough. Once, twice. Straighten out my loop. Neaten up my wrap. Just push it down so it's nice and close. Cut off that end if you have enough to cut off. And then push that tail, that little nub down so that it doesn't snag on anything, especially not your skin, for heaven's sake. That you don't need. And I did it again. Oh my goodness, I am brain dead today. Let me see if I have enough to do it again. Yes, I did. So what I want to show you is how to attach it without having to have an open ring. So once again, 1 inch tail. Wrap it around the pliers. Then wrap that tail, short tail, around the long tail. Once, twice. I did it again. I am brain dead. I am so sorry. It's about 96 degrees in here and I'm about to die. So I'm going to do this one more time. Please, I hope you're not just following along with what I do without checking it out first, because I am really doing badly. So I'm going to do this one more time, and I'm going to get it right this time, I promise. So 1 inch tail, such wasteful wire waste. Oh. Wrap it around my pliers till I have a loop, and stop there. Now attach it, slide on my loop, slide it down my short tail and into the other loop. Yay! Oh my goodness, why was that so difficult? Okay, so now I have my bracelet attached to what's going to be my clasp. So I've got my loop there. I'm going to grab the side of my loop. Try not to grab onto your jump ring because you don't really need to. And I'm going to wrap that short tail around the long tail of wire. Once and twice. One more time. Use my pliers for that because it's such a short tail. Okay, and now I'm going to cut that tip off. I'm going to put that down in something because I don't want it to fly across the room. So let's cut that little tail off. There. And push the end down against the rest of the wire so that it is nice and hidden. There we go. Ta-da! Oh my gosh, I did it right that time. Yay! Okay, so now we have a loop attached to my bracelet. So it's time to make my hook. So I want about an inch. I want about an inch for my hook. So there's my 1 inch right here. I'm going to grab that spot with the tip of my pliers, and I'm going to bend my wire. Make sure I'm bending in the right direction because I want it to be bent the same way the loop is. So I'm bending it to the side to match my loop with the tip of my pliers until I've just folded it in half. I want to make sure that the wires are side by side and not overlapping. I'm going to grab my flat nose pliers and I'm going to squish these two wires together because I want to make sure that they're as close together as I can get them without overlapping. So I'm just going to tap it lightly with my pliers while I hold it firmly between my thumb and forefinger to keep it from shifting. You have to be really patient with yourself. Okay, there we go. My wires are side by side, nicely kind of smashed together as close as I can get them. And now I'm going to go about halfway down my wire, grab them both with the tip of my pliers, again making sure that the wires are side by side and not crossed over or overlapping. So they're side by side here. About halfway down my wire, grabbing it with the tip of my pliers, and I'm going to fold both sides down over the tip of my pliers. So there. So now I have a nice little hook. And I need to secure my hook. So this long tail that I have, I'm going to wrap it around the bottom here. So there's the wrap, the first wrap that I just did with the short tail. So now I'm going to take this long tail and I'm going to wrap it on top of that wrap to secure my hook. Nice and tight, just 2 or 3 times. Make sure that's free. You're doing it underneath the opening. Make sure I don't catch that in there, which I did. Okay, now here we go. Just wrap that in between pliers and under the opening. You don't want to catch that opening in there. Just locking those ends together, those wires together. So once I've wrapped that maybe 3 times, 2, 3 times at the most is enough, I can cut that wire end. And what I want to do is cut that wire off in between the end and just in between the 2 sets of wires. And that way it's hidden. It won't catch on anything, which is the whole point. So I'm going to squish this down so that it's nice and close, tight, and neat. Then I'm going to clip the excess wire off. and push down those ends. You can push down that tip so that it's in between the wires and out of my way. There. So now I'm going to go ahead and go back in with the tip of my wire and push down the end. So it's nice and close. And then I'm going to take the tip of my pliers and grab the end of my wire just a smidgen away from the tip. And I'm going to give it a little twist so that now I have a little ledge on the end of my hook. There we go. There's my hook. And I like to go in and place my pliers under there with the tip of my pliers under there and squeeze it down so that there's a little, I can even use my pliers for that, so that I have a little well at the top, a little tighter. So now I have a little well at the top. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so I have a little loop at the top. And so that when I close my bracelet, I have this nice little knot that's going to keep it from coming loose, because when I close it, it snaps on, and then it snaps down into this little well that I've created, and it won't come out until I take it out. So now it's nice and secure. When I take it off, snap and snap. When I slide it on, it snaps in and snaps in place. That's just my little trick. Anyway, there's our bracelet, all nice, neat, and finished, and ready to wear. And again, like I said, you can take this and probably make it into a necklace. I think it would be gorgeous in a necklace, but I think I'm going to leave that up to you, because it's nice and lightweight. It's not too heavy. I think it's perfect for all year round. And there we have it. Nice, neat, tidy little bracelet. And you can wear it with the other one too and just layer it. And that would look amazing to wear them both together. So that's that. That's our tutorial. I hope it was okay. I hope you'll forgive me for flubbing the hook. I think it's good sometimes to show you that when you do things, nobody's perfect doing it. I'm certainly not perfect doing it. I'm still learning a lot of different things, and these types of mistakes happen. And it wasn't really a mistake, because I can take this and still attach it to an opening jump ring. But I wanted to show you how to put it on a closed jump ring, so that was the whole point. But anyway, here's our finished bracelet. And there's another version of the bracelet that you saw when I first came on there. I can wear them both together. They work beautifully together. I think this would look really good for guys. As a matter of fact, I already got approval of my guys. And not too frou-frou, no beads on there, just nice hardware. I think it looks awesome. So anyway, that's my tutorial for today. Sorry about all of the mucking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think. I hope you'll give it a try and show me what you do. because this is one of the neatest pieces. It's very versatile. You can wear it with pretty much anything, and it's a repetitive process, but not a difficult one. So if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions for things that you would like to see, I'm going to be doing this for a while, apparently, and I would love to hear your suggestions. I would also like to see your creations. Again, I say this, I've said this often, that's one of the things that I miss the most. I don't get any feedback. So give me some feedback, bad, good, whatever. I don't care. I want to hear it. If I was off camera, which I probably was at some points, you can tell me about that. I can take it, and just let me know what you think one way or the other, because I really want to hear your opinions and your thoughts and your suggestions for things that you would like to see me do in the future. Anyway, until next time, you have a good week. Have a good time with whatever it is you're doing, and I'll see you later, or again, more realistically, you will see me later. Bye-bye.